And we're on. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Hey, Kevin.
Hello. How we doing?
Yeah, really good. We're live.
We're live. All right. Hello, universe.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Super excited to be hosting this 12th edition of our Unlocking Success webinar series. And we are wrapping up 2025 in style. We're hosting Kevin Dunn, who's heading CX programs at no other than Airtable. So that's exciting. Right. Welcome, Kevin.
Yeah, no, excited to be here. I know we didn't talk about it. Excited to be episode number 12. I'm outside of Boston, so a long time New England Patriots fan. Number 12 is near and dear to our heart. That is the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. So I'm glad I get to be associated with number 12. And
That's
otherwise,
great.
happy to be here. Yeah, man.
This was absolutely planned.
That's right. I like to think it was.
And I see you put up the Christmas background, the snowy background. Well done.
Yes. Honestly, it is starting to melt. We had a trip over the weekend, and so it was warm. And we got home and we didn't realize the forecast had snow. So we came back. You know, we're weary, we're jet lagged, and it's just we had inches of snow and unpaved driveway. And so yeah, thankfully it's starting to melt a little bit though, but freezing cold. Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. So feel very, very welcome wherever you're joining, whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, one of our melting spot platforms. Feel free to ask any questions. We have someone centralizing all questions and relaying them to Kevin and myself. So we're trying and take those questions on the fly and answer them as much as we can. So don't be shy. Please, raise your hand, ask questions, and we'll answer them.
I like to see where folks are dialing in from too. Is anybody else on the East Coast of the States? Anybody Boston based? I always like to see kind of where folks are dropping in from, but I'll try and follow along on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see where people log in from. The point of today's webinar is really to unwrap some of the best practices at Airtable. We're excited to be welcoming Kevin from Airtable. It's an iconic software. We all know Airtable. Very, very keen to unwrap some of the best practices there. So let's just kickstart. Kevin, if you don't mind introducing yourselves, your background, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. So yes, my name is Kevin Dunn. I lead digital programs, digital CX at Airtable. All that to be said, there's 3 distinct pillars of programs in the areas for my team. The first is Airtable Academy, so self-paced on-demand courses and our certification program. Second pillar is Airtable Community, so our forum-based experience, our user groups, our event calendar, and our Airtable MVPs program, which is our champions ambassadors program. And then the third pillar are AI initiatives, AI programs, and so the places where we get a little more hands-on, helping with AI problem hunting and AI fluency, and obviously implementation in Airtable. So we have masterclass workshops that we bring folks in person for. We just rolled out our first cohort of the AI incubator. It's our bootcamp program. So that's kind of the totality of our portfolio. And, prior to Airtable, spent about 8 years at HubSpot, mostly on HubSpot Academy. I incubated, the partner education program, developer technical training. And so longtime HubSpotter and coming up on 2 years now at Airtable.
I know there's others HubSpot alumni logging in today, so hi to the HubSpot folks. We're big HubSpot fans, so welcome HubSpot guys. Looks like you've addressed the 3 pillars of your key pillars of your program at Airtable, of your CX programs or digital programs. Looks very, very structured, very well thought out. Before we dive into more detail addressing these pillars, there's a question that jumps to mind, is that Airtable seems like a pretty simple product. I guess your growth strategy relies heavily on product-led growth. Why would you have to learn so many things? Is it really necessary having all those programs? Isn't it a self-adopting product?
I hope so. I hope my leaders think so as well. No, but I mean, it's a really good point, right? And so if anybody's unfamiliar with Airtable, right, it's AI native, low code, no code app platform. It's meant to be extensible and usable for whatever your workflow or use case, vertical, industry, function, whatever that may be, right? And ultimately, for anybody jumping into Airtable, right, with the power of AI, we're trying to close the gap between what you're defining as strategy or direction and how do you actually go and execute that effectively, efficiently, et cetera. And so, yes, there's very much a product-led growth motion at Airtable. It's meant to be intuitive, right? It's meant to drop you into a really easily navigatable space, kind of reach those first few steps of activation, right? Shorten the time of like the aha, especially when you start to tap into AI or have AI build you the prototype for the app you have in mind. And so, yes, that absolutely is true. Now, on the other side of the spectrum of our customer base, right, Airtable also supports, a significant amount of Fortune 500 companies, and they're running some of their most important, most critical workflows on Airtable. And so, when the stakes are a little higher for like really, really complex, sophisticated, cross-functional, collaborative enterprise use, you don't want to leave them to their own devices of like self-guided navigation of a tool. And I find that's oftentimes where programs like ours, digital scale programs, customer education community, like that's where we fit in to help those types of customers, especially.
Cool. We have our own academy at Melting Spot. We have our own Melting Spot Academy, and then there's always a bit of friction between the product team and the CS team, because product says, well, we don't really need an academy. Our product is self-explanatory. Everything is, our UX is really cool. Why bother create academy programs? Is there such friction at Airtable as well?
I wouldn't even classify it as friction. I've seen it be friction, but it is very much like it was an active conversation, especially at the beginning. And I think it was an important one because I think you need stakeholder alignment, collaborative alignment on like, okay, then where does the academy fit in, and like what does the content catalog or the areas of focus, like what is it, like, and so like, yes, we have the baseline foundational kind of 101, like, okay, you're a new user at Airtable, let's get you acclimated, right? I think if the absence of that would put the burden on our customers to deliver that as they're trying to get their growing teams and their end users up to speed. And so, we want our customers focused on like the bespoke enablement and training of the apps that they've configured and customized. And so, hey, we'll take the heavy lift, the 101s, the foundationals, building your first automation in Airtable. Like, yes, it's intuitive, but like it's there so our customers don't have to do any sort of training for their end users. But even just beyond just simple ease of use and like navigational education, we find that Airtable users, Airtable customers are the most effective when they have some of like the underlying mindset, core competencies. Like, do they understand, the real power of relational database or like relational data, linking records, syncing your data, right? Do they understand the capabilities of AI, at scale, where it's like, hey, yes, I can ask ChatGPT to write me an email as a one-off, but are you having AI take in all of the context you have from every contact record within your CRM, looking at all the touch points you've had over their history, and then building personalized outreach for your upcoming event next quarter across dozens, hundreds, thousands of records? And so, like, there's a lot of underlying understanding, mindset, strategy, concepts that we also try and help train via Academy, so that when it becomes time to point and click in Airtable, folks are off and running. So all that to be said, yes, I think there's still a place for Academy, even if the product is really easy to jump in, click around, figure it out, right?
And to what extent do you also leverage your community to feed your product strategy? When people ask for a specific feature or when they complain about anything like specific, do you share this with your product team? Is there a direct line of communication between the community team and the product team?
Yeah. So yes. Two things that the community plugs in on that is like really valuable for us, and I would think and hope for our end users as well. So whereas the academy focuses on like that baseline, the foundational kind of like, hey, here's how you get started, and here's the approach you want to take with Airtable. We're never going to be able to create bespoke education for every single industry and vertical use case, every single functional and departmental use case, right? Like, Airtable is a Lego set, and there's an infinite amount of ways in which you can use it and build apps, and so we leverage our community, we tap our community to apply some of that like vertical or functional lens, like, hey, that's where you learn, and hear and can see what others are doing in the similar space as you, right? So not just Airtable 101, but Airtable for marketing ops, or hey, I am a product leader at a software company, et cetera, et cetera. And so also to your question, like, yes, we use our community to be the vehicle for product feedback, feature requests. We like to drink our champagne, obviously, as many SaaS companies do. And so we use an integration with Airtable for that. And And so what's great is that, we intake that via a form on Airtable community. Any user can submit their idea, their feedback, their request. But because it's coming into our Airtable base, our product team also has their roadmap and their development workflows on Airtable. So we're having AI assist us here, but it automatically tags, categorizes, and routes it to the exact right place on our product roadmap, attaches it to the right feature or product in thinking and development. It pings the right product owners or product teams. And so we've really, consolidated, we've shortened that gap. We've closed that gap between community feedback, feature request, and getting it exactly where our product team needs to see it. They can action it. And there's this whole other workflow too on how we actually, bring that back to the community and make sure they understand where and how and when they've informed the roadmap. And again, we tap community to help be that communication channel.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks. Thanks for sharing. We started off this talk with like the concept of self-adopting products. We agree that there's probably no such thing as a product that completely can be adopted and used without prior education, or at least some level of education. So when it comes to managing complexity in SaaS, how do you do it at Airtable? So maybe time to dive into your academy programs, maybe dive into your onboarding, like standard onboarding process. Yep. How much handholding do you offer? What's the standard onboarding journey to get started and get to grips with Airtable?
Yeah, I would say, I wouldn't even consider the journey being onboarding. I would consider onboarding being part of like the larger learning journey or customer journey that somebody takes with Airtable. And so like just at the highest level, what was really important for us was to understand what the full journey looks like in products, product usage, but also like competencies and fluencies, like AI being an important one. And then so we wanted to make sure that we have and had programs and resources that chart, right? And so, maybe many people start at the very beginning. They don't know Airtable. They've signed up. And so there's an onboarding flow. But then you could also just join here. Maybe you were a longtime Airtable user. You moved companies. And so, you've brought Airtable over and you're trying to get, your team around you, or maybe some of like the AI concepts are a little newer, but you're an Airtable pro. And so, we don't want to just say it's a linear, you could drop in anywhere. And so we've wanted to build a program portfolio that supports the full journey. I think the other dimension too is that everybody prefers to learn differently, whether that be modality or format, et cetera. And so, it's not just, hey, we have academy learning paths. And so self-paced on-demand video education will cover the entire journey. Like, yes, if that's what you prefer to learn with, you can do that. But if you want to get more hands-on, if you want to be in more synchronous, office hours types events, do you want to jump into like community or customer-led events? Do you want to get hands-on workshop guided exercise style? And so, we've tried to diversify the portfolio there too. And so I think in regards to complexity, one of the newer programs we've rolled out, we just finished the first cohort. And so we're trying to, take away the learnings and figure out how we want to roll it again going into the new year. But we called it the Airtable AI Incubator. And so it was our first kind of, cohort style bootcamp program. And it was like specifically oriented around like the complexity piece. And it's like, hey, many of you have existing workflows. You probably have an idea or a use case in which AI can support it, make it more efficient, effective, improve the quality of the outputs, et cetera. Let's work together and let's bring the cohort of users together where you can learn from each other and let's see what we can do in 4 weeks and let's try and transform your app or fully deploy a net new, AI driven app. And so we just ran that and it went well. And again, I think like that type of communal experience is exactly what these types of users are looking for. And it feels like one of the more effective or impactful ways for managing complexity specifically, right?
Cool. I love how you mentioned that onboarding was just part of a like broader education journey.
Yeah.
One of the guests, I can't remember who they were, but mentioned the concept of everboarding, as in you never stop onboarding. Does that resonate with what you do at Airtable?
Yeah, I think like, everboarding, it could be synonymous with just like, hey, the learning journey doesn't end, right? And it's like, okay, you may be officially onboarded, but that shouldn't mean that like opportunities for learning, sending you or like, contextually providing resources to users, like that should never go away. It's like, yes, onboarding is complete. That just means maybe you've been with us for 90 days. But we should continue to enable and empower and keep them on pace with where the product's going, the market's going, the strategies and competencies. And so, yeah, I love the concept of everboarding, and I think that we certainly map to the philosophy, right, with our content, our
I
resources.
think that's probably where the like mixing up different formats is interesting, because you would probably expect academic programs when you start. You're like, okay, I'm starting with Airtable. It can be complex. I can do a whole heaps of things. Let's just sit down, take a course. But as you move on the journey and you've been with Airtable for a year or two, and you feel that you master the tool, you probably don't want to take a course to get on top of a new feature. So is that where you invite your users on a live product feature presentation? Do you have such format?
Yeah. So we'll do like we do like live streams, or like our product marketing team does. We have webinars and live events. We have in-person events, and then our user group leaders are all really great at doing like monthly or bi-monthly events as well. And so it's like, yeah, if you want the opportunity to ask questions or to like get a look at how somebody else is doing it, like those are tremendous resources for that. I think the perception that academy courses are better fit for newer users. I think like a lot of the introductory content might be, but we are also continuing to try and grow our academy catalog, even on more advanced topics too, right? And so it's like, hey, yeah, you're new to Airtable. Okay, you figured it out, but now you just want to improve with like, how do I identify the right use case? What are like the components of like a AI pilot or AI experiment, and like how should I address that? Or like, hey, what are all of the agentic capabilities within Airtable, or just like what are AI agents good at more broadly? And then like, how do I actually go and config? How do I know when to A/B test models so I know, ChatGPT 5.1 is better than Claude? And there's these things that regardless of how new you are to Airtable, there's more learning to be had potentially. And so, academy courses will still be a resource, not a replacement for, but just like supplemental. And so that's why I think, going back to your point, the diversity of resources and how effective you are at like bringing them to the right user at the right time is going to be most important.
Cool. I was just checking questions. We have a question from Elizabeth. Or she's asking, in your experience at Airtable, where does adoption usually break first? Onboarding stage, feature discovery, or long-term usage?
So where does what
adoption usually break first? Like
Yeah.
at the very beginning, when people find out new features, or when they use long-term?
So I don't know if this is exactly where I would say it breaks, but I would say this is one of like the key areas of focus for us. Like this milestone is that when folks are coming in and are starting to explore, some of the AI features with Airtable. So like our co-builder, our chat experience is called Omni, Airtable Omni. And it can quite literally, if you, conversationally ChatGPT style, ask it to build you an app in Airtable, and you give it some of the criteria you're looking for, it'll build an entire Airtable base, and with tables and linked associations and automations and field agents. And so, that is a really significant aha moment. And it really unlocks like, wow, like where AI can really support workflows at scale. To your question, the milestone that we focus on is preventing or mitigating any sort of cliff that could happen once that initial aha moment happens, right? And so, as you can imagine, we see an immediate spike when something like that happens, and we don't want it to immediately spike back down. And so it's like, yes, hit that spike, and then we're hyper focused right now on maintaining that durability of usage. So let me know if that answers your question, okay? But like that is such a key area of focus for our team.
And how do you do that? Do you do you unlock features or promote features in your products to make sure that there's always more to discover? How does that work? How do you take users from that spike to another aha moment?
Yeah, and so I think it's it's not like necessarily product gating necessarily, right? I think it's like being able to have that sort of spike, having an understanding of who that customer is, what they came to Airtable with, anything historically what we have on them, but also the context we have about that spike, and just having really informed contextual follow-ups, pointing them to the resources, right? Like, hey, there was a spike. Do we have an understanding of what their use case was, right? Oh, is there an opportunity for us to point them to the user group that supports customers in that space, right? Or, hey, we just published a builder spotlight, we call them change makers, on somebody that had something similar. Or like, actually, we're going to have a workshop in their city next month. Obviously they should be on the list. Or, hey, maybe they're a really good fit for this AI incubator, right? Because that's oriented around, trying to solve complexity, trying to establish durability. So maybe they're a really good fit to get as an applicant for the next cohort, right? And so it's just understanding the pool of programs and resources we've developed, take what we know about that user, and delivering the right stuff to them at the right time, right?
Cool. You touched on AI. You mentioned that your AI capabilities inside Airtable already make it super easy to create your first tables and have all the links appropriately done between your tables and stuff. So already super powerful. If AI is really doing the job, why do we care, like running CX programs, adoption strategies?
Yeah, I mean, what's like the tale as old as time, right? I mean, I think this might be something we have to retire, but it's like, hey, AI is not replacing us. The people that can effectively use AI will, though, right? Like that's been said ad nauseum, but like I think it's like exactly to the scenario you painted there, right? I think like AI has done a tremendous job at like removing the barrier to entry for complex or sophisticated product usage. Right? When we think about complexity, right? Is that like I don't have to be a coder. I don't have to know how to string together a humongous branched automation flow. I don't have to write the perfect prompt with like all of the inputs for an agent. AI can do all of that for us, right? It can, hey, I want to custom code an interface element on Airtable so it pulls in a map of the attendees coming in for an event, or I want like a 3D rendering of an image. Like AI can just do that for you, right? So it's like the barrier to entry for complexity and sophisticated usage has shortened. With that, we have found that like when we are able to use our account teams, our customer success managers, our account executives, academy resources, professional services, when they get to work with customers on AI use case identification, AI problem hunting skills, understanding field agent capabilities, how to actually string together what a pilot would look like that, I think is where the human touch is needed. And like that isn't where like AI won't replace that, right? And so, it's much less like, hey, let's turn you into the most sophisticated user of Airtable on planet Earth. Now it's like, hey, let's turn you into the most like AI forward, AI native person. And so you can be, the effective champion, a builder of, really advanced AI workflows, if that makes sense. So it's like AI fluency, AI implementation skills. Like that's where our teams are bringing the most value to our customers, right?
Cool. Awesome, thanks. There's a question back to the adoption topic we covered just before touching on AI. Anton's asking, when you talk about adoption internally, what KPI? I think we're going to talk about KPIs. Like, there's a number of questions around KPIs, but what KPIs actually matter most at leadership level? So, how do you track like success of your CX programs, leading, lagging indicators that you can share?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we're like very, just leading and lagging is like our structure. And so, as you can imagine, leading indicators are very much like the program level kind of growth optimization metrics that I feel like my team cares or like looks at more closely and has informs our processes a little more. So, I mean, you pick a program like Academy, course enrollments, completion rate, trainings per user, the percentage of accounts with at least one user with a course completion, certifications issued, like all that good stuff,
Scores,
right? Yeah, exactly. CSAT, and then like incubator, how many applications, how many participants, how many made it to, how many capstones, how many graduates, the CSAT, and so those are just leading indicators we capture on a monthly cadence. We roll up to quarterly, like we have that, and that's our system. On the lagging indicator side, we do a ton of like cohort analysis, right? And so again, like program specific, let's take a list of customers who have engaged with Academy, have attended a community event, have an Airtable MVP within their workspace, and then let's look at product adoption, AI adoption, retention compared to the accounts that don't have that, and are we seeing an uplift, right, correlated to engagement versus those that don't? And like that's the type of analysis and reporting that we've bubbled up to leadership and executives. Those are like the headlines of our QBRs and our memos, and And so that's the high level approach we take.
Cool. So essentially, you're able to prove that academy, like active academy members, also perform well on the business side and on the adoption side, and NR and upsell rates.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
are
Yeah,
you,
and so I
are
mean,
you
we
able-
anchor it because we see it, which is great,
Yeah.
right? Which we'd be in a whole different conversation if like, no, it's actually the inverse, right? Thankfully, that's not it. But it's like, yes, right. There is a quantifiable correlation when customers learn with Academy, learn with community, or enter one of our programs, right? There is an uplift in adoption across their team, the depth of AI adoption of the user, and then ultimately positive renewal outcomes, right?
Are you able to prove that at an even more granular level after specific feature presentations? Are you able to prove that there's a spike in adoption with this particular feature, for example?
Yeah, so we've started to 100%. So it's a newer kind of direction for like our reporting rhythm, but we are trying to start to look at a little more of a granular, like, okay, we just had we do like a monthly event. It's called Set the Table. Airtable is great for like puns, right? So it's Set the Table, it's beginner focused, and it's meant to be like, hey, we're going to do a little bit of a walkthrough, but it's like office hours, like bring your questions, bring your problems. And so, for those types of events, for example, we'll look at the attendees like, hey, what's the product adoption look like in the 28 days or 7 days pre-event? What does that analysis look like in the 7 days and the 28 days after? And like, are we seeing a positive inflection, momentum carrying after they attend one of these events? And so it's like a newer component we're looking at. But like, yeah, we want to get to that level, like even in the, even in the micro, like in the immediate, we see upticks and uplifts, right?
Cool. Awesome. Now that we've put Kevin on the CS pedestal, I'm keen to hear about a big fail of yours, maybe earlier in your career. What advice?
It's hard to
would you
choose.
give?
There's been a million of them. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
Yeah, there's one. So we'll go back to HubSpot for a second. Years ago, I was, building out some partner education initiatives, and like it was clear as day that partners were looking to learn from other partners. They have a global ecosystem of services partners, agency partners, thousands of businesses, and there's only so much that they can learn directly from Airtable. They want, hey, how are you like running your business? They want to hear from each other. They want to learn from each other. So the pitch was like, hey, we should build a content series. We'll interview partners on a topic that's relevant. And the idea was like, this was when Facebook Live was just coming out. And so it was like, oh man, it's going to be like a talk show. We're going to fly them into our studio in the office. We're going to do a Facebook Live. I'm going to interview them because it's live. We're going to take questions in real time. Actually, not unlike this, right? Anyways, we did that. It was going to be like an hour-long interview. And what we quickly realized is that for an audience of executives, CEOs of these managed like services providers, they don't have an hour. It's impossible to lock in an hour across global time zones. It's expensive to fly people in. And so because people were actually preferring to consume it on demand, the live nature, the question asking in real time, like it wasn't coming through. And so, yeah, man, that was a fail. Like, oh, love the experiment, love the pitch, but like this ain't it. And so we didn't wash it away. We just, everyone should do this, right? You just, hey, man, what were the learnings? And then how do we take those and move forward? And so, it eventually became 30-minute podcast. We optimized for audio, not video. We recorded them remote. We still captured the learnings from leaders. And like, as soon as we made that pivot and we were able to stick to a reliable weekly or biweekly schedule, I mean, the engagement, it skyrocketed. It fit the bill exactly. And so, it was a failure, but, you have to learn and you turn the ship around.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Good stuff. There were a few questions that I missed earlier. Elena is asking, what are the biggest, sorry, we touched on AI already, but what are the biggest misconceptions you see around AI and product adoption today?
Yeah, I think folks need to, I think folks are too limited as they think about the opportunity with AI, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, like I can just like, add like a chat tool. I can just punch in something and like it'll spit me out. But it's like, if you start to think about like, okay, the context of that singular thread, I'm not trying to just write one email to one person. I want to write emails to 100 people, or like, hey, I have thousands of call recordings from Gong or whatever call recording system you have. And it's just unstructured transcripts. But I owe the account teams summaries. I want to bubble up themes and patterns from all of these calls to our executive audiences. I want to repackage it as opportunities for like support or academy content ideas. And so like just all that unstructured data and building this entire structured workflow, multi-audience workflow, like that is where AI is. You know what I mean? Or it's like, hey, yes, I can have AI I can upload my headshot and it'll turn me into a Muppet. But what about my entire marketing campaign that I'm rolling out next quarter? But I want AI to take all of the visual assets and just localize the headlines on all of them across all of these languages, and then reorganize the dimensions for all of these things. Like, so anyways, the answer to the question is like truly the scale in which AI can be driving impact outside of like singular input output exchanges, where I feel a lot of folks, that's where folks are today, you know.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think this was a pretty extensive response. Thanks, Kim. I think time's up already. Time flies. Thanks for.
Yeah. Once you put me on AI, dude, and it's like we're obviously we're big fans of it. We implement it all across our programs on the back end. We get to try and improve the AI fluency and proficiency levels of our users. So yeah, I could talk about AI all day. So yeah, thanks. That was a good plan. That was a good planted question there at the end.
Is your AI fluency program open to everyone?
Yeah, so Airtable Academy, Airtable community, 100% free. So anybody with like a free Airtable plan and a Gmail address could join, could take a course, could become Airtable certified, can join one of our AI user group events. So yeah, 100% all free resources. Yep.
Cool. Everyone go check it out.
Please do.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thanks for your time. Really enjoyed that chat. We're gonna finish this. Don't go anywhere. I'll see you backstage. For those tuning in, thanks for joining. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and festive season. Have fun, and we'll see you in the new year. We have a whole range of webinars coming up. We'll be promoting them on the MS Nation page in the next few days. So excited to see you in the new year. Thanks again, Kevin, and Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, folks. Happy holidays. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Cheers. Bye-bye.